While the coronavirus might be the first, and hopefully only pandemic you get to see in this lifetime, pandemics have ravaged humanity throughout history. Some of them have been so bad, they've ended entire civilizations. Hi viewers, and welcome back to another interesting curiosity video. With the development of civilizations, cities became larger with more exotic trade routes. This increased contact with different populations of people, animals, and ecosystems, leading to more pandemics. And in today's video, we'll tell you about the deadliest pandemics in the history of mankind. From the Plague of Justinian, the Black Death, Asian flu, Great Plague of London, Russian flu, and more. Watch till the end to learn about all of them. Number 1. The 1918 Spanish flu. Taking place approximately 90 years before the 2009 swine flu, this pandemic killed more than 200,000 people. Reports of an especially dangerous form of influenza began appearing around the world. Kansas was the site of the first US case in March 1918. Appearing in multiple countries around the world, the disease spread quickly, moving along even faster due to the close living quarters of troops fighting in World War I. This first instance of an H1N1 pandemic would be dubbed the Spanish flu, despite the fact that it didn't actually come from Spain. By 1919, cases suddenly began going down. While there's still no explanation for why, it left the global population decimated. It had a mortality rate as high as 1 in 5. An estimated 1/3 of the world's population was affected, with as many as 50 million people dead. Approximately 25 million of those deaths came in the first 25 weeks of the outbreak. What's the deadliest disease outbreak your country has ever seen? Tell us quickly down below in the comments section. Number 2. The Plague of Justinian. In the year 541, rats on Egyptian grain boats brought a disease to the Eastern Roman Empire that would leave approximately 25 million people dead. The Plague of Justinian quickly tore through the empire. Even the emperor himself, Justinian I, who the plague was named after, contracted the disease. While he lived, many did not, with modern scholars estimating that at one point, as many as 5,000 people died per day in Constantinople, the empire's capital. By its end, about 40% of the city's population was dead. People died so quickly that bodies were left in piles, joined by about 1/4 of the eastern Mediterranean. Modern experts believe the outbreak to be the first recorded case of the bubonic plague. Number 3. Smallpox. Smallpox is a very old disease, dating back to Egyptian time. In Europe, the disease is estimated to have killed 60 million people in the 18th century alone. Its introduction into the Americas by European settlers in the 16th century killed almost all of the indigenous people. It is considered to be a major factor in how the Spanish conquered the Inca and Aztec civilizations. Smallpox was declared eradicated in 1980 following a global immunization campaign led by the World Health Organization. The last known natural case was in Somalia in 1977. Since then, the only known case was due to a laboratory accident in 1978 in Birmingham, England, which killed one person and caused a small outbreak. Number 4. The Black Death. Credited with the introduction of quarantine, the Black Death was a pandemic of the bubonic plague. Giovanni Boccaccio, an Italian poet, described that its victims were covered in black boils that oozed pus and blood. Moreover, those that survived remained gravely ill. Black Death hit Europe in 1347 and lasted for about 6 years. Estimates indicate that between 1347 to 1351, the plague killed over 20 million people in Europe, almost 1/3 of the continent's population. It was first reported in Europe when 12 ships from the Black Sea docked in Messina's Sicilian port. However, people at the docks were met with a horrifying surprise when they saw most sailors aboard these ships were dead, An infection by Yersinia pestis caused this disease. It's believed that the plague originated over 2,000 years ago in Asia and spread through trading ships. However, recent studies suggest that the pathogen responsible for this disease may have already existed in Europe as early as 3000 BC. Number 5. Cholera. Another one of the deadliest pandemics in human history. This disease has been around for centuries. It came to prominence in the year 1817, when a lethal outbreak tore through India, resulting in the first cholera pandemic. Early symptoms include vomiting, diarrhea, leg cramps, septic shock, and dehydration. It started from India's Ganges Delta and spread globally through travel and trade. This disease lurked in India's contaminated rice and killed its victims within days. Cholera initially spread to other Asian countries and the African coast. It first hit modern-day Myanmar and Sri Lanka through European trade routes. Then, between 1820 to 1822, it spread to Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, Japan, and China. Cholera began spreading beyond Asia in 1821. Through British troops traveling from India to the Persian Gulf. The disease eventually reached European territory and made its way to modern-day Syria, Turkey, and southern Russia. The pandemic died out in 1823, owing to a severe winter that most likely killed the bacteria. Its death count remains unknown. However, its estimated death counts in various countries are as follows. India, approximately 1.25 million per year. Iraq, 18,000 in a month. Bangkok, 30,000. Indonesia, 100,000. And Korea, 100,000 people. Interested yet? Make sure you join our growing number of followers and hit that subscribe button for all our great curiosity content. Number 6. Asian flu. The Asian flu of 1957 was a major outbreak that originated in China during the early months of 1957. Later classified as a pandemic, the outbreak was the second influenza pandemic to occur during the 1900s. Doctors were unable to control the disease in its early stages. As a result, the virus quickly spread beyond China's borders into surrounding regions. Within months, the Asian flu reached pandemic status as much of the Northern Hemisphere, including Europe and North America, fell victim to its spread. By the early months of 1958, millions of Americans, Europeans, and Asians had become ill from the deadly virus. Children, the elderly, young adults, and pregnant women were most susceptible to infection. Overall, estimates regarding the number of deaths caused by Asian flu are difficult to determine. Sources vary significantly by country. However, it's largely accepted by the scholarly community that nearly 1 to 4 million people died of the Asian flu, with the World Health Organization stating that 2 million deaths were the most likely figure worldwide. Despite having only a 0.3% mortality rate, tens of millions of individuals were infected by it. Number 7. The 1968 Hong Kong flu. The first recorded case of this influenza virus was reported in Hong Kong, though it could have originated in mainland China. It would go on to infect around 500,000 Hong Kongers, approximately 1.5 out of every 10 people. It spread at first throughout Asia and then became a true pandemic, reaching the rest of the world. 1/10 of the total worldwide deaths occurred in the United States, where 100,000 perished. As with the Spanish flu, researchers believe this flu strain originated in birds and made the leap to humans either directly or with other animals serving as intermediaries. Number 8. The Great Plague of London. This was the worst outbreak of plague in England since the Black Death of 1348. London lost roughly 15% of its population. While 68,000 deaths were recorded in the city, the true number was probably over 100,000. Other parts of the country also suffered. The earliest cases of disease occurred in the spring of 1665 in a parish outside the city walls called St. Giles in the Fields. The death rate began to rise during the hot summer months and peaked in September when over 7,000 Londoners died in 1 week. Rats carried the fleas that caused the plague. They were attracted by city streets filled with waste, especially in the poorer areas. Those who could, including doctors, lawyers and merchants, fled the city. The poorest people remained in London, with the rats and those who had the plague. Watchmen locked and kept guard over infected houses. Parish officials provided food. Searchers looked for dead bodies and took them at night to plague pits for burial. Number 9. The Russian flu of 1889. The flu pandemic of 1889, also known as the Russian flu, was a deadly pandemic caused by the influenza virus. First reported in St. Petersburg, Russia on December 1, 1899, the virus was able to quickly spread throughout the northern hemisphere due to improper quarantine protocols. Due to the large number of railroad networks and an increase in transatlantic boat travel, the virus managed to spread all the way to the United States by January 12, 1890. In less than 4 months, the outbreak reached pandemic levels as all major countries began to report a substantial number of cases. Despite having a relatively low mortality rate, the number of infected individuals worldwide reached the millions by mid-1890. As a result, it's currently estimated that 1 million people died as a result of the 1889 Russian flu pandemic. In an era where the study of bacteriology and virology was first beginning to take shape in scientific circles, little was understood about containment protocols for diseases. As a result, the Russian flu was able to spread like wildfire to surrounding countries as modern containment protocols were not followed. Number 10. The Antonine Plague of 165 AD. Also known as the Plague of Galen, this was an ancient pandemic that affected the Roman Empire between 165 and 180 AD. Believed to have been brought back to the Roman Empire by troops who were returning from military campaigns in East Asia, the disease quickly spread throughout Europe and the Mediterranean, claiming countless lives in its way. Due to the fact that many of the sources pertaining to the Antonine Plague are ancient, overall death numbers are difficult to determine. However, it's widely accepted that nearly 5 million people died during this pandemic, which struck the Roman Empire in 2 separate waves. Records indicate that the disease was so severe, nearly 2,000 people were dying each day in Rome alone, with an estimated mortality rate of nearly 25%. Some regions of the Roman Empire experienced population declines of nearly 33%. Ancient history is pretty wild. It's full of chapters that are dark, as well as ones that are deeply fascinating. Learn more about it by watching 17 Amazing Facts You Didn't Know About Ancient Egypt, or the Most Unusual Facts About Ancient Greece. Is there a pandemic we were missing? Let us know in the comments section below.